Hello, everybody. Happy winter. So, we're calling today's conversation Winter Blues, but I don't want to be presumptuous. Maybe you love winter. A lot of people do. You know, it's almost embarrassing to refer to our winter here in LA. I think our low daytime today is going to be about 56 degrees, something like that. I'm sure if you're in the Midwest, the Northeast, that's had a pretty brutal winter so far this year. You would think that that's deigning to complain, but here we are making fires, wearing scarves and our winter coats, even though we've got it pretty darn nice for winter. I personally, and maybe it's because I grew up in southern Florida, I was born in New York and, had some childhood winter, but really most of those days I got used to sunshine and warmth and a warm ocean and living in shorts almost every day of the year. And I have to admit that even though I can appreciate the beauty, the pageantry almost of winter. I mean, how many great poets, painters have depicted winter as maybe the most beautiful of all seasons. And it's not just because we appreciate it when it's over and spring comes and we can take a breath and rejoice again, but it's because the actual, snow on the ground and the trees laden with that beautiful pristine white is an absolutely beatific vision. I just know for me, and a couple of you have written in before the conversation today to say that you feel the way I do, is that when winter comes, you kind of get a stiffness about you. Your hands are cold, your feet are cold. You don't enjoy the outdoors. It's just very rare that it's still, no wind at all. And if you bundle up just right, the air is so crisp. I know that feeling. But as a general rule, it's not fear exactly, but it definitely is far from relaxation that happens when winter comes. And as the thaw happens and we head into March and certainly into April, I start to relax. My body can feel the warmth again. So I'm looking to see today if you guys feel that winter blues as well. And of course, a lot of it has to do with lack of daylight. I went to Berlin last year and I had always wanted to see Berlin. It just turned out it was December. So it literally was stark black dark by 3:30 in the afternoon, and there wasn't much light before about 10 in the morning. So what are we talking about? 5 hours of daylight. So to get out into that bleakness and it was sort of lacking in joy. And I look forward to going back to Berlin at a time when it's springtime or fall or even summer, and being out all day long and enjoying it. I'm going to get to go to Sweden next December, and I'm actually looking forward to it. I think it's close to 24 hours darkness, but I got to embrace it. That's when I've been scheduled to go. I'm giving a couple speeches over there. I'm going to get the right boots, the right scarves, the right headgear, and be out and see that magical Swedish winter. So let's see what you've gotten going on here. How I wish. Ghislaine Theron says, I could be in the sun right now. Pretty cold in Quebec. Not much daylight. Very difficult. So, Ghislaine, you're somebody who's right on my wavelength. And we could all say, then why? Why do we live in cold winter places? I moved from New York to Los Angeles not because of the seasons. I moved here for all kinds of personal reasons and business reasons, but I will admit that I don't want to be in a winter climate as my full-time home anymore. Someone says here, Karen Barot says, inspired to get as fit as you. Well, I'm always, looking to get even fitter, Karen, so you keep working at it. Boaz Marari, hello, Diana. You have a fan in Israel. Well, thank you. And you know what? I've been traveling the whole world and I've never been to the great country of Israel. I want to see Tel Aviv and Haifa and Jerusalem. Certainly, I want to go to live on a kibbutz for a week or two. And I'm wondering, do you have winter? I picture you, Middle East and down even, within reach of the equator and North Africa. So I'm just wondering what your winter's like over there. I'll have to do some research unless you come back to us. Here is great. Kangalosi, that's a nice name. I don't like the darkness early in the morning, having trouble to get to gym in the early AM. I know. Winter means that, yes, it's cozy. You know, you get with your doggy, you get with your lover, you know, and you cuddle up on a couch with a beautiful, you know, cashmere blanket, and you watch a movie, and it's time to sort of do those wintry things. Have a cup of hot cocoa, you know, by the fire. All that sounds wonderful, and it is, but it does limit you from being outside. And I forget what the name of the syndrome is, but a lot of people literally, scientifically, physiologically have depression when there's so much darkness out. Denise Snyder, I got some tough names today. Oniskanich. The sun was out in the Poconos in Pennsylvania today. Yay! Let's hear it for the Poconos. I'm glad to hear it. You do appreciate it. You know, it's almost like one reason, you know, those of us who delve into very painful and difficult enterprises like extreme sports, we can't wait till it's over, because we have felt so much pain that when it's over, we appreciate the end, the finish line, and feeling comfort again, and getting in a hot shower after being in cold water more than most people who have never been in cold water. So maybe that's the point of winter. We suffer, and then nobody knows, like the people who know winter, what springtime can mean. Oh, it's called SAD. Thank you, Judy. Somebody wrote in, it's called SAAD. At least that's the you know, sort of non-scientific name for feeling the physiological effects of winter. Just saying hi from Puerto Morelos. Cherry's Jubilee. Anna Maria, too cold. Ha, that's Dee, my buddy Dee. Dee Brady was the captain of our boat going across from Cuba to Florida. Very cool woman. Hippie, dark blue glasses. I love you, Dee. I miss you. Maybe we should Bonnie and I should take a little buzz trip down to Puerto Morelos. But here's Dee is a good example. Classic New Yorker all the way. Reads the New York Times every day of the year. Does the New York Times crossword puzzle every day of the year. But she moved to Florida, the magical island of Santa Maria Island. Now she goes, even that's too cold for her in winter. The Gulf Coast of Florida. Dee has now moved to Puerto Morelos, Mexico for most of the winter, because she wants to get even closer to the equator than the west coast of Florida. Dee, I love you and I hear you. Let's get away from the cold. Denise L. Snyder. Oh, that's it again. You said my last name perfectly. Oh, well, I won't try to say it again then, because I got it right the first time. Teresa Ankney, cold but still hanging out. Good. She's still working out. Okay, good. You know what? I get like dogs and our animals. They're more frisky in the winter. The truth is, you know, sometimes the winter, like I get up early. It's dark, but I'm all bundled up. I get out in the gym or I get outdoors. Bonnie and I are doing a lot of walking in what I said. We pretend to be winter here in LA, but you actually feel a little bit, you know, like the dogs, a little bit friskier. Lois Ann Porter, hey Diana, R here. Lois Ann Porter was Bonnie's, along with our other second handler, Pauline Berry, on the Cuba swim. Lois Ann was right there on the side of the boat. Hi, R, and I call her R because Lois Ann, at a little transition point in her life, came to be my roommate in LA for a couple of months. We had a ball, and her dog came, Rasta, and we all lived together. And so Lois Ann will always be my R. Warm here. Shelley writes from Baton Rouge, warm here. I love to hear that. Carol Frazee, thanks for encouraging us to get outside. Yeah, I don't know if I've been very encouraging, saying that winter can be a drag. But we got to face it, right? If you've decided to live wherever you live, Chicago, what a great town. I went to college north of Chicago, and I used to walk around shaking and tense in the winter with the wind blowing off Lake Michigan, and with a hat and face mask that only allowed like this much vision. And I'd say to myself, why? It's a great city, but why would anyone choose to live in this year round? Don't you know that you can get in your car and drive 500 short miles to the south and you won't be in this kind of misery. But people who grow up with it and your families are there and the reasons that you live there, you grasp onto winter. So I'm trying to catch on to you guys today who actually love winter. Wendy Elston, Wendy, how are you? I don't know why I can't hear anything. Diana, love you. I love you too, Wendy. You're my biggest fan, and I really appreciate it. Karen Leibowitz, seasonal affective disorder. That's it. Thank you. Not sad. That's the colloquial expression, but seasonal affective disorder. Karen, thank you. Hi from New York. Walking my dog, pushing myself outdoors. You and Bonnie are an inspiration. You are too, Karen, and thanks for the info. I really appreciate it. Valerio Ferrara. Diana, you are such an amazing person. I bet you are too, Valeria. I'd love to know more about you. So another thing about winter is, I think it's more of a thinking time, right? We're less active. You know, when it's warm out, we're just, moving. We're moving a mile a minute. There's something always to do. There's nothing to keep you from busting out the back door. But winter, you're a little more pensive. I talked last week about, 2 weeks ago, about New Year's resolutions, and told you that mine was to read more. And honestly, I have been reading. Not volumes, but I've been reading a bit more the last 2 weeks since I saw you all. And it is a time to read and have hot soup and a slower dinner and a conversation with friends and family than it is in the summer when you just want to, you got light until 9 o'clock at night. You don't want to just be hanging out. There's something positive we can look for. Wanda Diaz Falcon says everybody should come down to Puerto Rico. Boy, do I agree with you. Bonnie and I got to go to Puerto Rico last year, actually kind of winter time. I think it was February. And what is the brilliance about going to what feels like a foreign country, even though it's a U.S. territory, so you don't have to go through customs. So you get to go to a Latino country, dance some salsa and merengue at night, and you Puerto Ricans can dance it. Till 4 o'clock in the morning, gorgeous beaches, beautiful fresh fish, swimming in the warm oceans, but you've gone to a foreign country without having to go through the drag of immigration and customs on either end. I dig Puerto Rico. I tell you, if I lived in New York again, Puerto Rico, if not Cuba, would be my escape place. If I could afford to have a little place down in Puerto Rico, or Havana, that's where I'd be going from New York City, a little bit far from here. Beth Brooks, what are your thoughts about the 10 to 20 minute workouts that almost everyone, I'm not getting the end of it, but Beth is one of our epic walkers. Beth in Texas, how are you, baby? Beth walked with us all the way from San Diego, LA to San Diego. That was the first epic walk. You guys hopefully are all going to get tuned into Everwalk, which is Bonnie and my next big vision. And by the way, I'm doing these, started just this year, doing these live Facebook talks, on my Facebook page with you guys every other Friday. So here we are, 3 o'clock Pacific time. We've even got people from Australia, New Zealand. It happens to be a decent time down under for people to check in at this time. Now we're going to start every Saturday doing Everwalk live talks where Bonnie and I are going to be out walking. We are embracing Los Angeles. Next week, we are actually going to participate in the protest march the day after the inauguration here in Los Angeles. There's going to be a big march in D.C., but 40 cities around the country, people are marching peacefully just to make a statement that we have values. We've worked hard for Roe v. Wade and protecting the environment, understanding climate change, etc. And we just want to hope and walk out, and not to be angry, but walk next week on Saturday the 21st. I bet in your city there's a march. It's not to be disrespectful of President-elect Trump at all. It's meant to say, let's not worry. Let's not have our values go down the drain over the next 4 years. So we'll do, starting every Saturday at 12:30 Pacific time, an Everwalk Live. And we're going to do our first one, controversial as it may seem, from next week's inaugural protest. M.K. Sirwick, thank you for making moving our bodies an act of resistance. Yeah, it should be an easy act, but you see all the studies. I just read the other day that most Americans gain 13 pounds over the holidays. You know how hard it is, especially if you're over 40, 50, 60, to lose 13 pounds. And most of those Americans who gave 13 don't lose half of that weight before summertime. So just figure it out. We've always been told that just on aging alone, just on, gaining more mass as we get older, that we gain about a pound a year. So, you can't figure it. You look at yourself at 40 and then at 60 and you say, how could I have possibly gained 20 pounds? I work out hard. I eat pretty well. It's kind of the natural course of the human body in our society is to put on 1 pound a year. Well, that's fine. But imagine if we put on 13 pounds every holiday season and can't get it off, half of it, till the summertime. That's a lot of work to be done. So I'm all for exercising like heck over the holidays. Mylene Iwanowski, yes, let's walk to protect our rights. You rock. That's all. It's just to make a statement. It's not to be rude. Denise L. Snyder, Oniskanich. Are you walking on the East Coast? I would love to join you. I'm going to be in New York the day of the inauguration. That's Friday the 20th. And I was going to zip down to D.C. I've got lots of friends going to be marching down there. And, really cool people like Frances McDormand have announced that they'll be in D.C. I suppose they're expecting about 250,000 people there. It'll probably be the biggest mass of all the marches. But I've been remiss in not latching on to the LA community where I live. I live here now, and I keep pretending I'm a New Yorker. I mean, I'll always be a New Yorker. Born there, spent almost 30 years of my life there, the formative years. But I live here, and I've lived here for a while. So I'm going to come back home and march in LA with my community. Joanne King, will Everwalk come to Philadelphia, or will I have to move to LA? You know what? We were just talking yesterday. We're starting to map out, Joanna, where we're going to walk certain corridors over the next 3-4 years before we do a big national walk. And Philly is very high on our list. It won't be this year. We're hoping to do Boston to New York in September. But the next year, we're hoping to have the funding and the masses coming to everwalk.com and joining Everwalk Nation. We're looking to become a hub of all things walking. If you want to go on vacation, if you want training tips, if you want reading material about walking, the history of walking, you will come to everwalk.com. We're going to be the word in walking. And we're going to do these walks, these long 1-week walks down corridors. We had a ball going LA to San Diego. Everybody on that walk felt they had an epic experience. And Philly has got to be one of our stops. So just keep in touch with us, but it won't be this year. What does Wendy Elson say? You got to motivate me to walk with my phone. Walk with me while we're walking. Well, that's the point of doing our Facebook Live walk. So, we're not going to walk our whole 2, 3, 4 hours, holding the selfie stick. But we're going to start at 12:30 Pacific every Saturday, a Facebook Live. With Everwalk Live, and you guys come in, walk with us, even if you're on a treadmill, even if you're not starting your walk right then. Join us for the first few minutes of our walk, and then we're going to sort of put down the camera and walk on our own. Sue Hall Spath. Hi, Diana. This is an old FLSA, that's Fort Lauderdale Swim Association teammate. I remember Sue Hall. Sue Ann Hall. I want you to know how proud I am of you. Thank you, Sue. I wish I'd stayed in the shape I was in while swimming. You were in some badass shape. You were a great swimmer. I had a heart attack, and now I'm trying hard, and I don't see the rest of yours, but
to get in a little better shape.
To get in a little better shape.
I
Sue,
love that you guys are doing this.
Thank you. Where do you live now, Sue? I'm coming down, if you're still in Florida, I'm coming down to Miami quite a bit over the next couple of months, in February, in March again. So check my personal Facebook page out every now and then. Come find me. I would love to see you again. And I'm sorry you went through a heart attack. That's amazing at your age. I hope you're okay. Just get out walking. Alisa Tazioli, I loved your book. Thanks for sharing your amazing story, Spirit of Resilience. My question, for walking in chilly circumstances, temperatures, what kind of attire best? Some people load up too big. And you don't realize that once you're out there, you're going to get acclimated. So take layers, and as soon as you're gone, warming up after 5-6 minutes, that upper fleece can come off. Tie it around your waist. You don't want to be soaking wet, and you don't want to be burdened down. You want to be able to breathe. So it's all about layers and all these incredible wicking materials. North Face and Patagonia. Go to REI. They're not that expensive. Get some really. It's not cotton anymore. Most people don't wear cotton out in the cold. They wear these other types of wicking materials so that whatever you're sweating comes to the outside of the clothing. You stay warm, but you don't have to wear big, thick, bulky clothes anymore. Deborah Knuckles Delbridge. I love the name Knuckles. I'm going to have a dog named Knuckles one day. Sounds great. I like the idea of Everwalk. Just to start walking is a huge step. Aren't you right? On our walk from LA to San Diego, we had some people. Marty Kennedy was one. Linda Fitz was another. These people have walked miles around the world. They all outwalked Bonnie and I like we were standing still. Marty has, walked 3 days in a row, going from December into January. Linda Fitz has walked the Camino, the famous spiritual Camino in Spain, several different times. 500 miles here, 500 miles there. But they taught us, that there are lots of people out there who haven't moved, who haven't gotten up off the couch for physical injury reasons or weight reasons or bad habit reasons. It doesn't matter. There's no judgment, but haven't moved anywhere in years. And Everwalk, we're not only for the people who have walked the Great Camino before, we're for all of you who and that's why we're walking. I'm a swimmer. I'd rather do something for all the swimmers in the world. That's my passion. But how many people can swim? How many people can get to a pool, an ocean, a lake, a river, especially year-round, whereas almost every one of us can walk. Natalie Dorfeld, I had SAD in Pennsylvania, seasonal affective disorder. Florida is much nicer for outdoor activities. Hello, sun. Keep on walking. So, you're feeling the way I felt. New York is one of the great, maybe the great. Okay, it is. It's the greatest city in the world. It just is. Let's not even debate that. But I can still go to New York. I can still feel the passion, the energy of that magical place. But in winter, I am so happy to be in a warmer climate. BJ Ansbury, what shoe do you use for walking? Do you like? There's such a wide range. Bonnie and I have done, sort of demonstrations with people, all the companies now, certainly Reebok and Nike and Under Armour and Brooks. And, we could go down the list of all the brands. They all have either a running shoe or a dedicated walking shoe. And like on our walk down to San Diego, every single person had a different shoe. Some people walk in more like real hiking boots, a little bit higher, a much stiffer sole. I wear a running shoe. I wear a classic Nike running shoe. And it's not like I'm promoting Nike. It just fits me right. It's the one I used to run in. So, but it's very personal. You got to try them out. You got to make sure they don't blister. You got to make sure they're the right pitch. Some shoes, the Hokas are really big now. They have giant soles on the bottom. Sometime, we'll do an Everwalk Live just about shoes, and we'll announce it a few days before, Thursday, Friday, and by the time we do the Everwalk Live Saturday, Bonnie and I will have a whole bunch of shoes laid out, and we'll not to promote any brand, but to show you why they're built differently. Some are New Balance makes a very wide shoe, Nike makes a very narrow shoe, and we'll talk. But you got to go out and figure out what's comfortable for you and what's protective and what cushions your foot. Andy Escott Carrington, although it's cooler in winter, don't forget to protect your skin out in the sun. Use sunscreen, essential part of your kit bag. Andy, right on. We all think it's not summer. We're not going to get too much sun. And sometimes that direct winter sun when there's no filter in the air. I almost went to Antarctica this December. And one of the first things, you think, Antarctica, you got to be packing ski caps. And one of the first things they list was, don't be a fool. You get to Antarctica in their summer when it's 24 hours of daylight. The first thing is a very effective minimum number 50 sunblock. So I hear you on that. Sunblock all through the winter. Okay, BJ writes back, you're wearing Nikes too. I hear you. Victoria Hall Artist says Jamboo, Jamboo shoes are excellent. I know a lot about shoes, and I'll have to tell you, Victoria, I don't know Jamboo. I'm going to look those up. Who said? Wendy Elston says she's terrified of swimming. Swimming is tough if you don't know it as an adult. You know, as a kid, we're malleable. We'll do anything. We'll go skiing. We'll go swimming. But if you don't know as an adult, you start small. It's more not about a stroke. Like I'm good at teaching people the mechanics of power freestyle swimming. I'm not good at the psychology of someone who's truly afraid. You need to get with somebody who works at a YMCA, YWCA, who's used to adults who are afraid, and you start in the shallow water and you go a little deeper, a little deeper, a little deeper. You learn how to feather and push down on the water. You learn that these paddles can actually push you up and down. You start not being afraid that you could save yourself. Wendy, if you were thrown overboard 2,000 miles from shore, you want to feel that you could relax and breathe calmly and push down and feather and keep your face above water so you can breathe. It's not about teach me how to rotate my shoulders. That's for people who already swim. Come to Cleveland, Believe Land, Dana Ann. I love Cleveland. Cleveland rocks, isn't that what they say? I'd love to see you there. And somebody else, Julie Mills Wentz, come to Cleveland. All right. Oh, you mean for the walk? I hear you there. You know, we do. We've got Chicago, Cleveland, Philadelphia, Boston, as I already said, Boston, New York. Where else? Atlanta, Portland, Seattle, Arizona. You know, a cool walk would be Tucson to Phoenix. So we've got a number of major hubs that we'd like to do. You know, 1 a year, then 2, 3 a year, then 4 a year. Then by 2020, 2021, we're going to figure out something about a nationwide walk. We're just kind of getting into it now.
I have a message from Alexia. She says that she suffers from seasonal affective disorder also. She's in the remote Idaho Valley and below 0 temperatures. She just wants to get out and walk with her dog. Not sure what I can do except move away, and I can't really afford to do that. Feels hopeless. So Alexia.
Yeah, Victoria, I'm sorry to hear that. You know, maybe it's about getting really creative. I mean, have you been a snowshoer yet? I'm not a winter person. I went with a bunch of friends who were doing a big ski trip. I didn't want to go. I've never learned downhill skiing. You can't do everything in your life. I want to do all the things I love, like boogie boarding, more and more and more with the time I have left, instead of learning things I'm afraid of and not having a very good time. But a friend taught me and put me on a pair of snowshoes, and all of a sudden I was happy. I had a little Camelback. I was, you know, walking over the next little town, seeing everything, taking pictures. When I got there, I had a hot bowl of soup, got my gear back on and snowshoed back. So it's probably something you already know, but cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, skating, something you can't lock the door. I don't care what it is. Today we're talking about winter, but there are 1,000 things we could talk of that we don't enjoy about our lives. But do we just lock the door and sit depressed on the couch? No, we figure out a way. I know you can figure it out. I just know you can. Wendy Elston, 2020 is right around the corner, isn't it, Wendy? So, Wendy, the next thing I want to hear from you is that you've joined the local Y or someplace and learned how to swim. You know, I don't think that all of us, of course, can do everything. And as I just said, I'm not a skier. I'm not going to be a skier. I'm 67, and I've admitted that I can let that go. I'm not going to be a snow skier. But swimming, and I don't even mean swimming, but just enjoying floating in an ocean. The earth is 4/5 water, floating in a lake, feeling the magic. You know, we came out of the amniotic fluid, didn't we? So, you know, we are, what is our bodies? Are we 98% water fluid? Something very high. So, you know, that fluidity is part of the human condition. And, you know, I encourage you, Wendy, to learn how to swim. Let's see, who else we got going on here? I was in the pool tonight. Denise Snyder Oniskanich. As long as I can say it, I might as well, you know, flaunt it. Finding a teacher as an adult is difficult. Have you ever made any instructional videos for swimming? You know, it's funny you say that because I actually have a really good set of swimming instructions. Bonnie and I, she did the land part of what makes a swimmer's shoulders, triceps, you know, all the lats, the things, the muscles that push you through the water stronger. She did the land part, I did the water part. We're going to put that out as maybe in an app, or 1 minute installments coming this late spring to summer. But again, it's not for people who are afraid to swim and need more of a psychological boost. Andy is back again. Some of us are just natural at certain things. For the rest, it's you just have to want it enough. Yeah, I hear that. I just anything that has to do with water, just automatically, whether it's kayaking, rowing, you know, surfing, all of that, I can just do it. I just am unafraid. I understand water. I get into it. When it has to do with winter things, I'm remedial. I'm tense. I take one step forward and slip two back. I don't like it. And so if I worked really hard on it, I know I could do it. I've decided to spend my time otherwise. But you're right. One more. Margaret Chandler was in Key West this summer. Saw where you came on shore at Smathers Beach. How did you feel inside? I felt proud. I felt proud, Margaret. Not that I made it, but that I didn't give up on it. And by the way, in 2 weeks, and we will do both this Facebook Live and the Everwalk Live. So mine on Friday and the Everwalk Live on Saturday from Key West. The Historical Society there is going to put up a little exhibit on the swim. Bonnie and I have sent them a bunch of artifacts from the swim. They're going to mount them and put some photographs. It's going to be beautiful. And we're also there, very important, huge event that weekend. It's the weekend of the 26th, 27th, 28th. We are going to be there for the Women's World Flag Football Championships. And they asked Bonnie and I if we want to play, and we heard there are 6'5" Swedish women who come over and mash you on the ground and come back later and say, "Are you all right?" So we said no, we're not going to play. But we're going to be there for both those things. And we always go over to Smathers Beach, as you did. Thank you very much for your respect. And we stand there and we look out at the horizon and we remember what a journey that was. Because it wasn't even just that 53 hours that it took to come across. It was 35 years in the making, that journey. I started when I was 28 and I finished when I was 64. I'll tell you, if there isn't a life lesson in never, ever give up, I don't know what it is if it isn't that swim. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I've enjoyed all your comments, and I look forward to it. So, to review, every other Friday, I'll see you 2 weeks from now, be in Key West that day, and that'll be at 3 p.m. Pacific time. And then every Saturday, starting tomorrow, Everwalk Live, which will be at 12:30 Pacific time. Come walk with us on Saturdays. Tune in. Talk with us on Fridays. Happy winter. Get over the winter blues. Peace out.